Hey guys, so I'm finally getting a moment to film another wild foraging video. Well, I'm not exactly in the wild now, I'm in a suburban environment, but you can actually forage amazing, nutritious, free food pretty much anywhere if you know what to look for. And today I'm going to teach you about a really common, really nutritious, and really easy to identify plant, and it's called amaranth. In South Africa, it's also called Morogo or Imbuya. Please forgive me if I'm pronouncing that wrong, and please correct me. And it falls under the family of plants known as pigweed. But what we're gonna call it for this video is amaranth. So there's about 60 different species of amaranth, and none of them are known to be toxic. They're all considered edible with different desirabilities. Different species are more desirable. So yeah, let's get into the identification of the plant. I found a few patches growing in my yard at the moment. There's a few that came up in an old veggie garden, and there's a few actually growing through like the driveway pavement. So I'm gonna just show you how to identify the plant. We're gonna go through now. So this is the amaranth plant, and it might look familiar to you. They do sometimes sell the young leaves in little bunches in some of the smaller vegetable shops, but I'm gonna teach you how to find some for free. So if we start at the bottom of the plant, we can see that the stem is actually green and it turns red, and that's pretty typical. The typical of amaranth plant, the stems do turn red as they get older. And actually you can find different amaranth varieties that are completely purple, have reddish leaves. Some of the leaves have these variations on them, so they'll be green and then have little purple spots, and on the underside of the leaf it's always a little more silver or a little lighter. The veins of the leaf are a lot more pronounced in the top part of the leaf. And yeah, it's a pretty simple arrowhead oval shape. The other thing that you can look for is how the leaves actually grow. So if you look at the plant from a top view, you'll see that in some plants you'd find that the leaves exactly oppose each other. So there'll be a leaf here and a leaf exactly across it. But with amaranth, that's not the case. They're actually staggered. So they're not exactly opposite each other. What other features that you can look for are these really distinct seed heads or seed flower head spears. And this is actually a variety of amaranth that I think is called smooth amaranth, because the stems are quite smooth, which leads us to another identification feature, which is that some varieties of amaranth actually have tiny little hairs along the stems. This one doesn't. It just has a little ridge along the stem. And yeah, so this variety would be considered, I would say, a vegetable variety of amaranth, because the grain produced is not that much of grain. It's still a usable amount, but it's not as much as other varieties which produce really huge flower heads, and they're really, really beautiful. They can be like bright burgundy and orange, and it was actually a Aztec superfood because the grains are so nutritious. They're considered a complete source of protein, which is really good for anybody who's vegan or vegetarian or just wants some healthy, cruelty-free protein. And yeah, so with these flower heads, you can wait for them to almost dry, and then you can pick them and harvest the grain. And I'm gonna be showing you guys how to harvest the grain and how to prepare the plant over on my Patreon page, and I'm gonna link that in the bottom of this video. So if you subscribe to my Patreon, it's whatever you can afford per month fee, and I'm gonna be posting up a few videos there every month, hopefully. At least one video a month is my goal. Just to, yeah, support the knowledge being shared and being documented. So I'm going to show you how to process the grains and how I cook the stems and the leaves, and yeah, just what I use the plant for. I think that's all the identification features that I have. Yeah, that's it. It's a pretty easy plant to forage. You'll probably find it if you go looking for it in your yard or in a little wild patch near your yard. It really likes growing in disturbed ground. It grows pretty much anywhere. And one thing I would say, if it's the first time that you're foraging this plant, is definitely wait for it to go to these seed heads, because it'll make you feel really sure that you have the right plant. I just wanted to show you guys that the amaranth can also grow in a like creeping way, which is quite interesting to me, and I've only seen recently. And it has very similar characteristics. It just seems a lot smaller. So it grows like creeping along the ground, and then the flower heads come off. The amaranth, the smooth amaranth that I showed you in the garden, it doesn't get hey doggy, hey doggy. The smooth amaranth in the garden that I showed you, it doesn't get too tall. But I know other grain varieties of amaranth that are meant to produce a lot more grain, they get a lot taller and get a lot bigger seed heads. So these little black dots are what you see as the seed. You also get these light brown seeds. So the seeds are different colors, but that's the grain. And I'll show you guys how to prepare and process the grain over on the Patreon a little later this week. Yeah, so thank you to everyone for watching, and if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. If you have any video requests, feel free to drop them in the comments. And yeah, cool. It's a very beautiful plant.